The sky over Anthea glowed an unusual shade of red as Elder Xerex gazed upward from the crystal observation deck. Their sun, once a steady golden light, now pulsed with angry flares that stretched across space like fiery fingers. Xerex's translucent skin reflected the crimson light, making the ancient leader look as if he was burning from within. "How long do we have?" Xerex asked, his voice barely a whisper. Chief Scientist Lyra adjusted her instruments. Her four-fingered hands trembled slightly as she reviewed the data. 8 years. Perhaps 9 if the stabilization efforts work. She paused, her large almond-shaped eyes downcast. But they won't. Not permanently. Xerex nodded slowly. For 300 years he had led the Anthean people, guiding them through plagues, civil unrest, and resource shortages. But this, the death of their son, was beyond his power to fix. "And the Council? Have they responded to our plea?" he asked, though he already suspected the answer. "They have." Lyra's voice hardened. "They say we are too primitive to warrant evacuation assistance, that our crystal technology is insufficient for integration into the galactic community." Xerex turned away, hiding his anger. The Galactic Council, a collection of 12 advanced species, had watched the Antheans for centuries. They studied Anthean culture, occasionally made contact, but always maintained their distance. Now, when the Antheans faced extinction, the Council had decided they weren't worth saving. "Gather the elders," Xerex said. "The people must know." 3 days later, the news spread across Anthea. In crystal cities and floating villages, in mining outposts and agricultural domes, the Antheans learned their fate. Their sun was dying. Their homeworld would burn. And no one was coming to save them. Some panicked. Others prayed. Many simply continued their daily routines, unable to process the enormity of what was coming. In the capital city of Lumina, riots broke out near the food distribution centers. Xerex addressed his people through the crystal communication network that connected every Anthean home. "We have not given up," he assured them, though hope was fading fast. "Our scientists continue to work on interstellar travel. We will find a way." But privately, Xerex knew their efforts were failing. Anthean ships could travel within their solar system, but couldn't reach the nearest habitable worlds. Their distress signals, sent in every direction, remained unanswered. Millions of miles away, Lieutenant Samantha Ellis sat at her monitoring station aboard the U.S. Horizon. Earth's newest and most advanced spaceship was on its maiden voyage beyond the solar system, testing its experimental faster-than-light drive. "Lieutenant, I'm picking up something strange," said Communications Officer Ryan Jones. "Some kind of repeating pattern. Definitely artificial." Samantha moved to his station. Her interest piqued. "Let me see." The signal was weak but clear, a mathematical sequence repeating at regular intervals, coming from a star system no human had ever visited. "Is it one of ours?" asked Captain Greg Martinez, joining them. "No, sir," Samantha replied, excitement building in her voice. "The pattern is too complex for any of our probes, and the origin point is too far." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. "Are you saying what I think you're saying, Lieutenant?" Martinez asked quietly. Samantha nodded, her eyes never leaving the screen. "Yes, sir. I believe we're detecting an alien distress signal." Martinez straightened his uniform. "Alert command. Tell them we're changing course to investigate." "Sir," interrupted Ryan. "Command specifically ordered us not to deviate from the test parameters." Martinez looked at the signal data again, then at the faces of his crew. "Sometimes you have to make a choice between following orders and doing what's right. Plot a course to the signal's origin, maximum speed." As the horizon changed direction, Samantha couldn't help but feel they were heading towards something momentous. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization might not be a joyful meeting of explorers, but a desperate rescue mission. On Anthea, Elder Xerex watched another sunrise, unaware that help was finally on the way. Not from the advanced species who had abandoned them, but from humans, beings the Galactic Council had deemed too violent and unpredictable to even contact. The U.S. horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a flash of blue light. The alien star system appeared on their view screens, a reddish, pulsing sun surrounded by 7 planets. The third planet glowed with city lights even on its daylight side. "Scan complete, Captain," said Officer Kimberly. "The third planet shows signs of advanced civilization, massive energy readings, artificial structures, and," she paused, "approximately 9 billion life forms." Captain Martinez nodded. "Take us in slowly. No sudden moves." As the horizon approached the planet Anthea, they detected hundreds of small ships in orbit. None seemed built for long-distance travel, more like local transport and defense vessels. "They've spotted us," Ryan Jones announced. "We're being hailed." "On screen," Martins ordered. The view screen filled with the image of an Anthean face. The alien had pale, almost translucent skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Its large, pupil-less eyes were a deep purple, and it had no visible nose, just small breathing slits. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Anthean space. Identify yourself immediately." Lieutenant Samantha Ellis stepped forward. "This is how first contact happens," she whispered to herself before speaking louder. "I am Lieutenant Samantha Ellis of the Earth Ship Horizon. We received your distress signal and came to offer assistance." The Anthean's eyes widened. "Earth? You are humans?" "Yes." Captain Martinez joined in. "We mean you no harm." The screen went blank. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. "Did we say something wrong?" Ryan asked. Samantha shook her head. "They're probably just surprised. The signal has been traveling for years. They might have given up hope of anyone responding." After 10 tense minutes, the screen lit up again. This time, an older Anthean appeared, his skin more translucent than the first, showing the faint outlines of organs beneath. "I am Elder Zyrex, leader of the Anthean people. Your arrival is unexpected. The Galactic Council informed us that humans were violent creatures, dangerous, and unpredictable. They forbidden contact with your species." Martinez frowned. "We're not perfect, but we came here to help." Zyrex studied them silently. "Perhaps the Council was wrong about many things. Will you meet with us in person? We must know if your offer is genuine." "We'll send a small team," Martinez agreed. In the shuttle bay, Samantha Ellis prepared for the mission along with Dr. Alan Wright, a xenolinguist, and Linda Cruz, a diplomatic officer. They wore no weapons, only translation devices and environmental suits as a precaution. "Remember," Linda advised, "this is a desperate civilization. They're facing extinction. Be gentle, be honest." Their shuttle landed in a vast crystal dome. Outside the windows, thousands of Antheans gathered, their bodies glowing with nervous energy. Some looked afraid, others curious or hopeful. Elder Zyrex greeted them personally, flanked by guards with crystal-tipped spears. "Welcome to Anthea," he said through his own translator. "I must ask directly, why would humans help us when the advanced species of the Galactic Council refused?" Dr. Wright stepped forward. "Elder Zyrex, on Earth we have a saying. A stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. We help because we can, and because it's right." Zyrex's expression changed subtly. "The Council said you were primitive, yet you crossed vast distances to answer a call for help from beings you've never met." "Maybe being primitive isn't so bad," Samantha smiled. "We're still learning our place in the universe. We don't have rules about who deserves to live and who doesn't." Zyrex led them to a large chamber where scientific diagrams showed their dying sun and failed evacuation plans. "Our sun will go supernova in less than a decade. We have nowhere to go, no way to save our people." On the horizon, Captain Martinez received the information from the away team. His response, transmitted across the stars, would change the course of 2 civilizations. "If they won't help you, We will. Back on Earth, the United Nations Security Council gathered for an emergency meeting. The room buzzed with tension as Admiral Peter Clark stood before the world's leaders. "Ladies and gentlemen, the situation is clear," Admiral Clark said, pointing to images of Anthea and its dying son. 9 billion lives will be lost unless we act. "This isn't our problem," said the representative from Russia. "We have our own troubles here on Earth." With respect, Clark replied, "This is exactly our problem. We've spent centuries wondering if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not, and our first act cannot be to turn our backs on a dying race." The debate raged for hours. Some nations feared the technology required to save the Antheans. Others worried about the resources needed. A few questioned if humanity should interfere at all. Finally, the U.S. president stood. "We've received a message from the Galactic Council warning us not to help the Antheans. They say we're too primitive to involve ourselves in galactic affairs." She paused, looking around the room. "I say we prove them wrong. Earth will lead this rescue mission, with or without the rest of you." One by one, other nations joined. China, India, the European Union. By the end of the day, Operation Lifeboat was born, humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. On Anthea, Lieutenant Samantha Ellis and Dr. Alan Wright worked closely with the Anthean scientists. They learned that Anthean technology centered around crystals that could store and amplify energy in ways human science had never imagined. "If we combine your crystal technology with our propulsion systems," Samantha explained to Lyra, the Anthean chief scientist, "we might be able to create engines powerful enough for large evacuation ships." Lyra's eyes widened. "You would share your technology with us?" "Of course," Samantha said. "That's the point of cooperation." Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the Anthean system, engineer Jack Owens arrived with a team of Earth's best scientists and engineers aboard the newly commissioned vessel *US Endeavour*. They'd brought with them plans for massive transport ships, each capable of carrying thousands of Antheans to safety. "We'll need to build at least 500 of these," Jack explained to Elder Zyrex, showing him the designs. "And we have less than 8 years to do it." Zyrex studied the plans. "Even with both our peoples working together, this may not be enough time." "Then we'd better get started," Jack said with a smile. "Humans work well under pressure." Construction began immediately. Anthean crystal mines worked day and night, while Earth sent materials and workers. The first prototype engine, a combination of human and Anthean technology, produced twice the power of anything either civilization had created before. Admiral Clark's office in Washington, D.C. was dark when his secure line rang. "Sir," came Captain Martinez's voice, "we've received a message from the Galactic Council. They're sending a representative to Earth. They're not happy about our involvement with the Antheans." Clark sighed. "Was that a surprise to anyone? When will they arrive?" 3 weeks, sir, and there's more. Lieutenant Ellis has discovered something disturbing in the Anthean historical archives. The Draconids, the leaders of the Council, have a history of harvesting resources from solar systems after their suns go nova. They wait until the native species dies out, then collect rare elements from the remains. Clark's hand tightened on the phone. "You're saying they denied help to the Antheans because they want their solar system after they're gone?" "It looks that way, sir." "Then we have more at stake here than just saving lives. We're exposing a corrupt system." Clark looked at a photo on his desk. "Earth, as seen from space. Tell Ellis to gather all the evidence she can. When their representative arrives, we'll be ready." As he hung up, Clark knew humanity had just entered the galactic stage, not as the primitive species the Council expected, but as the champions of a people who had lost all hope. The Galactic Council ship entered Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. It was 5 times larger than anything humans had built, its hull shimmering with strange metals unknown to Earth science. It landed in a specially prepared area outside the United Nations building in New York. Ambassador Xorix of the Draconids emerged. flanked by guards from 4 different alien species. He stood 8 feet tall with scales that shifted color in the sunlight. His yellow eyes had vertical pupils that narrowed as he surveyed the human welcome party. Admiral Clark stepped forward. "Ambassador, welcome to Earth." HFY didn't extend his hand. "I am not here for pleasantries, human. You have violated galactic law by interfering with the Anthians. This must stop immediately." Media cameras broadcast the exchange worldwide. Clark kept his voice calm. "We responded to a distress call. Where we come from, that's not interference. It's basic decency. The Anthians are a dying race," HFY said. "Their son's death is a natural event. The Council has determined they lack the advancement necessary for salvation." "And who gave you the right to decide which civilizations live or die?" Clark asked. The question hung in the air. Millions watching felt a chill at the ambassador's cold logic. "The Council has maintained galactic peace for 50,000 years. HFY finally replied. "We don't expect primitives to understand our methods." Clark smiled thinly. "Then let me be primitive and direct. We will continue helping the Anthians. Your approval is not required." HFY's scales darkened. "Then Earth will face isolation. No trade, no alliances, no protection from the dangers that lurk between stars. Is one alien race worth your species' future?" "If we abandon them to save ourselves," Clark answered, "we wouldn't have much of a future anyway." On Anthea, construction of the evacuation fleet continued. The first 3 ships were nearly complete, massive vessels that combined Anthian crystal technology with human engineering. Lieutenant Samantha Ellis and engineer Jack Owens worked with Lyra in the main control center. They had become friends over the months, learning each other's languages and customs. "The Council is placing pressure on your people," Lyra said sadly. "We never meant to cause trouble for Earth." "Don't worry about it," Jack replied, adjusting a crystal energy converter. "Humans don't like bullies, even if they're alien bullies with fancy ships." Lyra's expression changed to what humans had learned was an Anthian smile. "You are a strange species. The Council told us you were violent and selfish, yet you risk everything for strangers." Samantha looked up from her calculations. "We can be violent and sometimes selfish, but we're also stubborn when it comes to doing what's right." Their conversation was interrupted when Captain Martinez entered. His face was grim. "The Council has established a blockade at the edge of this system," he said. "They're stopping our supply ships from getting through." Jack slammed his fist on the table. "We need those supplies to finish the fleet." "There's worse news," Martinez continued. "Our scientists back home have analyzed new data on Anthea's sun. The destabilization is accelerating. We don't have 8 years anymore. We have maybe 3, possibly less." Silence fell over the room. Even with both civilizations working at full speed, evacuating 9 billion Anthians in 3 years seemed impossible. "We need a new plan," Samantha said finally. "The evacuation ships will never be enough now." Lyra looked out the window at the red giant sun pulsing in the distance. "Then my people truly are doomed." Jack stared at the holographic map of the Anthian solar system, his mind racing. Suddenly, his eyes widened. "Maybe not," he said slowly. "What if, instead of moving the people, we moved the planet?" Martinez, Samantha, and Lyra all turned to stare at him. "That's impossible," Lyra said. Jack smiled. 6 months ago, you thought faster-than-light travel was impossible. Let's talk about impossible." The main science hall on Anthea was packed with both humans and Anthians. Engineer Jack Owens stood before a large holographic display showing Anthea and its solar system. His plan to move an entire planet had drawn skepticism, amazement, and hope. "It sounds crazy," Jack admitted, "but the math works. If we build massive crystal engines on the planet's crust and use the gravity of Anthea's largest moon for a boost, we can slowly move the entire planet to a new orbit around the neighboring star." He pointed to a smaller, stable yellow star nearby. Elder Xerex stepped forward. Our people have lived on Anthea for thousands of years. To move our entire world is better than watching it burn. Captain Martinez finished. The evacuation plan can't save everyone in time. This way, no one gets left behind. Scientists from both species raised questions, challenged calculations, and proposed improvements. By the end of the meeting, what had seemed impossible was beginning to look merely difficult. Work began immediately. Crystal mines operated around the clock. Human ships smuggled supplies through gaps in the Council blockade. Thousands of engineers worked on designing the massive engines that would push a planet across space. On the third day of construction, 5 Council warships broke through Earth's defensive line. They're heading straight for the main construction site, Lieutenant Samantha Ellis reported from the command center. Martinez's face hardened. Deploy all ships. We can't let them stop the engines from being built. The battle was brief but intense. Human ships were outgunned, but fought with unexpected tactics that confused the Council forces. They used Anthea's rings as cover, executed tight maneuvers that the larger Council ships couldn't match, and employed the new crystal technology to boost their shields. They're retreating, Ryan Jones announced as the Council ships pulled back. For now, Martinez said, they'll be back with more ships. We need to speed up construction. On Earth, scientists Ben Harper and Maria Gonzalez worked day and night. They had discovered a potential flaw in the engine design that could cause the entire planet to break apart during the move. The crystal resonance pattern is unstable, Ben explained to Admiral Clark via video link. If we don't fix it, the engines could tear Anthea apart instead of moving it. How long to solve the problem? Clark asked. Maria shook her head. We don't know. Days, maybe weeks. We don't have weeks, Clark replied. The Council is gathering a fleet. Our intelligence suggests they plan to end this once and for all. In space, the situation grew more desperate. The Council blockade tightened. Food supplies on Anthea ran low. The Anthean sun flared unpredictably, each burst more violent than the last. Lieutenant Ellis and engineer Jack Owens stood on a platform overlooking the first completed engine. It was enormous, a mix of crystal spires and metal supports that stretched for miles across Anthea's surface. Will it work? Samantha asked quietly. It has to, Jack replied. We've built 20 so far. We need at least 50 more. Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. Above them, hundreds of Council ships appeared out of faster-than-light travel, forming a wall of firepower that dwarfed Earth's defensive fleet. All ships, battle stations, Martinez ordered from the U.S. horizon. This is what we've trained for. The human fleet moved into position, just 37 ships against hundreds. The Antheans watched from their cities, their hope fading as they saw the overwhelming Council forces. On the lead Council ship, Ambassador Xorix sent a final message. Surrender now, or be destroyed along with the Antheans. Martinez looked at his crew, then at the planet below with its billions of lives depending on them. Tell Earth what's happening, he said to his communications officer, and inform the ambassador that humans don't abandon their friends. The horizon moved forward, leading the small fleet toward the massive Council armada, as the engines on Anthea's surface hummed with building power. Space lit up with weapons fire as the human fleet engaged the Council ships. The smaller Earth vessels darted between the massive alien warships, firing at weak points and drawing their attention away from Anthea. On the planet's surface, Jack Owens received the message from Earth scientists about the engine flaw. He studied their data with growing alarm. They're right, he told Lyra. The resonance pattern is unstable. If we activate the engines as designed, the planet could break apart. Can we fix it? Lyra asked, her crystalline features reflecting the red emergency lights. Jack nodded slowly. Yes, but someone has to manually calibrate each engine core. The radiation levels near the cores are too high for automated systems. I'll go, Lyra offered. No, Jack said firmly. I designed these engines. I know exactly what needs to be done. He didn't mention that the radiation exposure would likely be fatal. Keep working on bringing the other engines online. Jack put on a radiation suit, knowing it would only delay the inevitable, and headed toward the first engine core. Above Anthea, the battle raged. The human ships fought with desperation and cunning, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. The U.S. Horizon took heavy damage, its shields failing. Hull breach on decks 5 through 8, reported Officer Kimbley. Life support failing. Captain Martinez looked at the tactical display. 3 of their ships had already been destroyed. The Council forces were pushing through toward the planet. Evacuate all non-essential personnel, Martinez ordered. Get them to the escape pods. What about you, sir? Ryan Jones asked. I'm staying with the ship. Martinez's voice was calm. We still have a job to do. As the crew scrambled to the escape pods, Martinez steered the damaged Horizon directly between the largest Council vessel. 5 years passed. Anthea now orbited its new sun, a stable yellow star that bathed the planet in warm, life-giving light. The journey had taken 3 years, during which both humans and Antheans had worked tirelessly to keep the engines running and the planet intact. Lieutenant Samantha Ellis, now Captain Ellis, stood beside Elder Xerex at the center of New Anthea City. Around them, thousands of people gathered, both Antheans with their crystalline features and humans who had chosen to make this distant world their home. I never thought I would see this day, Xerex said, his voice filled with emotion. When our sun began to die, we had lost all hope. Samantha nodded. Sometimes hope comes from unexpected places. They stood before a monument, a statue showing an Anthean and a human hand reaching toward each other, carved from crystal and steel. At its base were the names of those who had given their lives during the great journey, with 2 names larger than the rest, Engineer Jack Owens and Captain Greg Martinez. Martinez had survived the space battle when Rebel Council ships arrived, but the radiation damage to his body had been too severe. He lived long enough to see Anthea safely begin its journey before passing away 3 months later. It is time, Xerex announced to the crowd. Together, Samantha and Xerex pressed their hands against a crystal panel. The monument began to glow, sending a beam of light into the sky that split into 1,000 colors, a permanent memorial visible from space. The council has been reformed, Xerex told the crowd. No longer will they decide which civilizations deserve to live and which should perish. Humanity and Antheans now have seats at the council table. The cheers that erupted were deafening. Children, both human and Anthean, released glowing lanterns into the sky. After the ceremony, Samantha walked through the city streets. New Anthea City was unlike any place in the universe, a blend of 2 civilizations that had found each other in their darkest hour. Crystal spires rose alongside steel towers. Humans had adapted to Anthean food, while Antheans had developed a taste for earth music and art. She stopped at a small school where Anthean and human children played together. 5 years ago, these species hadn't known of each other's existence. Now their futures were intertwined. A young Anthean girl approached her. Are you Captain Ellis? The one from the stories? Samantha smiled. Yes, but the stories probably make me sound more impressive than I really am. My teacher says that before humans came, Antheans had given up. Is that true? Sometimes giving up seems like the only option, Samantha replied carefully. But there's usually another way, if you're willing to look for it. The child considered this. I want to be like Engineer Owens when I grow up, brave enough to save a whole planet. That's a worthy goal, Samantha said, feeling both sad and proud at the mention of Jack's name. Later that evening, Samantha joined Admiral Clark, now Earth's ambassador to the Reformed Council, on a balcony overlooking the city. In the distance, several of the massive engines that had moved the planet still stood as monuments. Earth has changed, Clark said. Knowing we're not alone in the universe, seeing what we can accomplish when we work together, it's given people hope. Funny how that works, Samantha replied. We came here to save the Antheans, But in some ways, they saved us too. In Earth's solar system, a new fleet of ships prepared for launch. They carried scientists, explorers, and diplomats, not weapons. Their mission was to seek out new civilizations, to learn and share knowledge across the stars. On their hulls, each ship bore the same symbol that stood at the heart of New Anthea City. Two hands reaching across space, a reminder that even in the darkest hour, hope could come from the most unexpected place. And across the galaxy, the story spread of a civilization that had lost all hope until humans saved them.